Hello and welcome to Street Smart Travel. My name's Steve. This is the intro video where I can introduce myself, talk about why I'm doing the channel, what it's about, and my plans for future episodes. So, I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada, or Toronto, Canada, for those not from there, and I am currently in Tulipe, Ecuador, about an hour outside of the capital city of Quito, up in the north. I am volunteering on a farm up here. I've been on farms since May of this year, 2024. We're now late October, with a short and reluctant trip back to Canada to visit family and friends and take care of some things up there. So I've been down here almost 2 years. I'm working towards temporary residency. Should have that locked down by spring of next year, at which point I'll move on to permanent residency, and that's another 3 years, and looking forward to knocking that out. So it's a time intensive process, but aside from that, it's not really difficult, it's not really expensive, but it does mean you have to spend a lot of time physically in Ecuador, and that's the same in many countries. There's some other ways you can go about getting residency or citizenship in different parts of the world, but this is fairly standard, and for me it made the most sense. So why Ecuador? I've traveled over the years. I worked on cruise ships for 15 years, so I've seen a lot of different parts of the world on that basis. And obviously, that's a different kind of travel. You're in a place for maybe 8, 10, 12 hours. Possibly you do an overnight. Gives you a sneak preview of coming attractions. It gives you an idea of what a place is like. But when I was on the ships, if I would go to a port and we were there long enough over a longer period of time and I got to meet people and decided, I kind of like this place, I would take a vacation and go and check it out in more detail to see if it was a fit for me. So 15 years on the boats, off and on. And in the comments, let me know what you think my function was. What was my job on the ships for 15 years? One I really enjoyed, by the way. And like I said, it let me travel the world and I got to meet some very interesting and unusual people that I never would have met in any other way. Got to do a lot of scuba diving, zip lining, and all kinds of fun things all over the world. So, what is the channel about? This is a channel primarily about three things: simple living, early retirement, and say permanent residency or moving to a different country. Kind of long term travel with an eye to relocating. Now, I know that's not going to be for everybody. It's certainly a lot of stuff to take into consideration. Simple living, I've basically stripped my life down to the bare essentials. I've been down here in Ecuador for almost 2 years, and after taking an early retirement, which it happened sooner than I thought it would, but I realized I was ready to do it. I'd already set everything up and would be able to pull it off. Super glad I did it. Super glad I came down to Ecuador, and really enjoyed the time here. But 4 months in of just traveling around and enjoying being retired, I realized this is going to make me nuts if I don't have some kind of structure and I'm not spending my time doing something useful. I'm not going to make it very far, and I didn't want a job, although I can legally work here. So I looked and found some opportunities to volunteer, and I've been doing that for the better part of the last couple of years, and that's for the most part been amazing. I get to live with locals, experience life the way they experience it, get to practice a lot of Spanish because I put myself in situations where nobody speaks English and I have to figure it out. And yes, necessity is the mother of invention. So, also, what I'm looking at doing with this channel is documenting my process, what it's like, how I arrived here, like why I chose Ecuador. I don't want that to be the focus of the channel, but obviously I'm here. I've been here for a couple of years. I will have to be here for another few years, so it will be a focal point. But a lot of the things on here, a lot of the things I'll talk about are going to be fairly universal, traveling anywhere, right? There's things you need to do when you travel, and if you're applying for residency, there's things you need to do for that. Early retirement, for me, was mostly about the numbers more than anything. And I certainly spent a lot of time putting together income streams so that I could be able to finance my life on the road and be on the road long term. The longest trip I'd done before this was 3 months. That was Southeast Asia. That was great. I've done like trips of 2 months and a little bit more through Central America. And I always felt pretty burnt out by the end of it. So I needed to adjust the way that I approach travel. It's very different if you're traveling for a week or two versus a couple months versus years, right? Like literally years. A lot of different considerations. And my time on the ships really kind of set the stage for me being able to figure out how to do this. And I'll go into that in other videos. With any of the information that I tell you here, or any information that you come across anywhere, really, I'm a huge fan of Bruce Lee, and I've seen this quote many different ways. I will bastardize and plagiarize it here, quote from the master. Any information that you come across, I put it through the 3 filters that he suggested. 1, take what's useful. 2, discard what isn't. And 3, add what is uniquely your own. That's genius, and I've used that more subconsciously until recently. I realized, actually, this is exactly what Bruce Lee said to do. So I look for information and figure out, okay, this makes sense for me, that makes sense for me, I'll use these things. This other thing, yeah, that's not for me, that's not for me. And then I will customize it so that it suits my purposes, which are going to be very different from yours. They're very specific and very unique to each individual. And there's certainly a lot of videos available online on YouTube and a lot of other information online, offline. If you want to do research about traveling to places or looking to maybe move somewhere, become a snowbird, spend some time here, some time there. I don't know that I'll be living long term in Ecuador, but I certainly want to lock down the residency and see where the country's at in 5 years. I love Latin culture. I've been through Latin America on vacations over at least the last 25 years, and it's been great. There's so many things about Latin culture I really enjoy. And then some other things as somebody from the West that comes in and like, why would you do that? Like, why? This makes no sense, right? Makes no sense to my Western mind. And once I get out of my own way, I can much more appreciate the culture here, and I'm pretty aligned with their values. Uh, Family, certainly very important to them. I think that's an amazing foundation for civilization, for everything, for life. So I'll go into that in future videos as well. This one is basically to say, this is who I am, this is what the channel will cover. Future plans, I'll be in Ecuador for quite a bit, locking down residency, but when I have a chance to leave, and once I get the permanent residency, I can be out of the country for up to 6 months a year. My plan is to check out other countries in the region: Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, been to Peru, been to Colombia, like to check out Argentina and Chile. So I'll be doing more exotic videos, let's say, over that course of time. So with that, I invite you to like and subscribe. Plan on putting out a video a week, and I have some other plans. We'll see how they come together, or if they come together. I will say a couple things this channel is not about. 1, production value. As you can see, I'm in the shadow right now because there's a pretty strong wind up here and it's at my back, and I was trying to film looking into it, so I had a bit of sunlight in my face, and that wasn't working, so I just flipped it around. So it's either decent sound and not so good video, or better video and horrible sound. Life on the road, right? Adapt and survive. So with that, I will say welcome to the channel. Looking forward to putting out a bunch more videos and sharing my experiences, and certainly a bunch of travel tips, so that even if you're just looking to do some travel, maybe longer term travel, I got a ton of tips: how to get out of sticky situations, how to stretch your travel dollar, how to do research and come up with travel plans, basically down to budgeting and choosing where to go and when to go. I've come up with a system that works for me after years and years of trial and error. I'm really pretty happy with being on the road long term. A work in progress, and certainly happy to share any information I can in the hopes that it'll be somewhat entertaining. and certainly that it'll be useful if you plan on taking trips. And again, maybe you're not looking to relocate to a totally different country and uproot your entire life. I wouldn't advise that for anybody. But if you're looking at doing some longer term travel or even shorter term travel, there's a lot of information I'd like to pass on for things that I've learned over the years that certainly have served me very well and can serve everybody very well if they take it on. And again, take what's useful, discard what isn't, and add what is uniquely your own. So, with that, I will say welcome to the channel, happy trails, and looking forward to seeing you out on the road.